First, we got to start with something that happened just right before we decided to cut the mics on, and we're going to talk about a longtime heavyweight in Michigan politics, Debbie Stabenow, has now endorsed Haley Stevens for the Senate race. As a young person, that must make you feel very strange there, Jeremy.
The establishment's pulling out all the stops to try to get Haley Stevens elected, man. It's Debbie Stabenow. I think I saw yesterday Gary Peters' wife came out and said that she's voting for Haley Stevens. They are really trying to push her across the finish line, and they got 3-4 months left still. I don't think it's going to work.
I mean, especially not when you had a situation in which they're neck and neck, and I mean Stevens and Abdul El Sayed. We know that if the youth vote turns out, which over the past 6 or so years, youth vote in Michigan has been among the highest in the country, even in primaries.
Still abysmal, but better than a lot of states.
But better than most of the country. This could be a huge backfire for the establishment.
And that's the thing is Abdul polls very, very well with young people. Far and away, he's winning young people. But like you said, young people don't tend to vote.
Right.
And so it doesn't really matter if you're winning young people if they don't turn out to vote for you. Old people are obviously in between Haley and McMorrow oftentimes. But those are the people that turn out to vote. So if the young people don't show up and actually vote, then none of this is actually going to matter. But the fact that they feel the need to rally establishment support behind Haley Stevens so aggressively, to me, speaks to an internal team that's scared and anxious.
It comes off that there's a lot of anxiety in that camp, and not just the Haley Stevens camp, but the establishment. And again, I'm not trying to say it neither here nor there. It's just this is how it comes off externally. And you brought up Mallory McMorrow, who's kind of got lost in the sauce over the past month or so.
Yeah.
Because, there's been a few pieces that have come out nationally saying she's got old tweets hating on Michigan and saying that she can't wait to move back to California. It was weird, but it seems to have harmed her quite a bit.
The old tweet thing doesn't matter a ton to me because it's everyone's got old tweets that say things they probably disagree with now. Right. I mean, Graham Plattner is doing just fine in Maine. His opponent just dropped out in Maine, and he's got far more of a pass than McMorrow does. I know Abdul's got some old tweets that he deleted. A lot of that's abolish the police or defund the police stuff, which is I still fuck with that, but I get why he's not talking about it now. So the tweets don't matter too much to me. The bigger issue, I think, for Mallory McMorrow is that she seems to not be able to handle contentious interviews.
Okay, where are you going with this?
Mallory McMorrow keeps backing out of these contentious interviews. One just happened today, this creator named Matt, and he said that he wanted to ask her about healthcare and foreign policy, and then her team backed out of the interview and offered no possibility of rescheduling. We're a much smaller creator than Matt over at Head in the Office, but she also backed out of an interview with us when we wanted to ask her about similar things. And maybe the calculus here is don't put her into an environment where she'll get a bad interview where there will be bad clips and nothing bad will come of it. But also, it just seems like you can't handle tough questions, and that's a bad look.
I think it's a bad look, but I think also it doesn't help the situation, right? Because if you go into a contentious interview and you perform well, then everybody is back on your side. And so I think there's an assumption that perhaps she may not perform well in these interviews. And I think that's misjudgment on her team. Give the candidate the opportunity to be able to win over some of these creators or win over hearts and minds. I just don't understand why you wouldn't want to be on all the things everywhere all the time.
Yeah, well, and me neither, because the only thing that we're left to assume is that you can't answer the questions or you're not willing to answer the questions of potential constituents or audience members. And it flies in the face of the sentiment that McMorrow was pushing when she launched her campaign, which is what she essentially said, we should go everywhere and talk to everybody. Specifically, she was referencing Joe Rogan and how Kamala Harris didn't go on Rogan's show in 2024. But she was saying, we should go everywhere, not because we necessarily agree with Joe Rogan, but because we want to talk to their audience. And if we write them off, then we're setting ourselves up for failure. And she's doing exactly that. So I don't get it. And this isn't personal shade at McMorrow. Of course, I have policy disagreements, but go on people's shows and talk to them. They have audiences. You literally said you want to talk to their audience. Why aren't you doing it? I don't know.
Yeah.
Gage and I, my co-host at Head in the Office, we put together this big list of what we wanted to ask McMorrow had she actually come on our show for the interview that we had scheduled. You all can go and find that on our Substack. We can link it below and stuff like that. But man, if you want to represent me, come talk to me. That's all I'm saying.
Hey, I think that's a fair question. If you're just hopping into the show and you're wondering what's going on with these voices, well, I'm going to explain that in a second. But first, I got to welcome you to the Point of Disorder podcast. I am your host, Norris Howard, joined alongside Jeremy from Head Office. What's up?
I'm glad to be here, man.
Yeah, man, another day in paradise, as they say. If you can follow us on all of our social medias, that is at Point of Disorder and at Distill Social. That is on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, all the places where you usually get your information. And also, you can follow us on YouTube, where you can see our beautiful faces. Jeremy, where can they follow you?
True. Head in the Office on all platforms, talking about the news, talking about Democrats not beating the moment, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah. And, I want to talk about that because you, as the Gen Z stand-in,
so true.
A representative of your generation, we started the show talking a little bit about, this Debbie Stabenow endorsement of Haley Stevens. Over the past few weeks, there's been a very clear schism between like the youth vote and the establishment Democrat vote. As somebody in Gen Z, like, how is this coming off to you? Because I'm seeing it from a solid millennial that the young people are stepping up and doing all the things that older generations have asked them to do.
Yeah.
And now they seem to be upset about that.
Yeah, sometimes when we talk about Gen Z, we almost otherize them in a way and talk about them as though they deal with economic and political and social issues distinct from like everybody else.
Welcome to the club. Avocado toast.
Yeah, well, exactly. But like in reality, yeah, and people used to do it with millennials, right? Mm-hmm. But in reality, Gen Z is dealing with high housing costs, high education costs, high grocery costs, like all the issues that are afflicting the population broadly are hitting Gen Z. And what Gen Z have clearly said that they want are exciting candidates who will go out and advocate for the government doing things on behalf of them. And of course, I think most people want that, but I think Gen Z is more primed than most to call for that, just given the sort of like broad left or progressive bend that exists in Gen Z. And so to see a race like in Michigan where we got like Haley Stevens, clearly the establishment pick, McMorrow, the more like center lane or in between the two options, and then Abdul being like the far left choice, it's not surprising to me that a lot of young people like Abdul because he's coming out, he's speaking with moral clarity, he's calling, he's accurately describing the atrocities that we're committing overseas, and he's saying we should spend tax money in Michigan. And I just think that message is very salient these days, especially for young people who see potentially their entire futures being wasted on bullshit that this administration's doing. And let's be fair, like dumb shit that the Biden administration did as well. So.
And arguably, those economic factors that you were talking about hit Gen Z harder because wages have stagnated completely.
We got no wealth. We got
no wealth, no control of nothing. And, you got kids coming out of college who can't find entry-level jobs. I mean, even for me, the situation was very different. You talking about between 2008, 2013, when a lot of us graduated from college, this was a land of plenty.
Yeah,
we had just came on the other side of the recession, and so people were excited about new jobs. Working online became a new thing.
Tech explosion,
app development, all this stuff. People were getting jobs like never before, and I empathize with y'all. Gen Z, but we don't try our best to make it better for you.
Yeah.
So I do want to pivot a little bit because we did have some special elections this week, particularly in a very, very important race in Senate District 35 that is up there by Bay City, Midland, and Saginaw, in which the Democrats retained the seat that was vacated by Kristen McDonald-Rivet. And it was absurdly telling.
Yeah.
And it's a terrible sign for the GOP.
Man, if the special election results from 2025 to 2026 are any indication for what we're going to get in the midterms, Republicans are fucking cooked. Like no amount of gerrymandering will save them. We're seeing like 40-point swings in these special elections. I know Democrats tend to perform better these days in special elections generally, but these kinds of shifts are just monstrous. There's no way to compete with that.
No. So Green overall, in the winner was Shedrick Green, a former fire chief.
Yeah, shout out, man.
The shout out. But he got 60% of the vote total. Yeah. So that's, again,
decisive
victory. But I think the telling thing was that in a county, Midland County, where Trump, I believe, was plus 16 points. So won by 16% of the vote. Yeah. Green was plus 19.
It's just insane.
Now, this is a purpley district. Like, this is a purpley county, right? Yeah. Like, it is voted both Republican and Democrat in the past, but to see almost 20 points in a midterm is crazy.
Yeah, I'm not usually the kind of guy that buys into rhetoric or narratives around like, oh, a political realignment is happening. I'm even skeptical if the Democrats are getting their like Tea Party moment. You know what I mean? But when I see stuff like this, and when I see the other special election results, like we got some out of Texas and Tennessee, like, Jesus Christ, man. Yeah. Like, it's hard not to look at that and see, like, yeah, people are fundamentally breaking with the Trump administration, or at least they're turning out in such a way to reject Trump whole cloth and push something else forward. Because, man, these results it's bad for the GOP.
No, it is. But I do want to look elsewhere, in what I like to call the armpit of America, aka Ohio. And it looks like Vivek Ramaswamy is going to be the GOP candidate.
I love this guy. I love Vivek Ramaswamy, not because I agree with him on anything, but because he was probably my favorite character to come out of the GOP primary in 2023 and 2024. Because if anybody remembers, there was a Republican primary in 2024 that was a complete total waste of time, because everybody knew from the beginning that Trump was going to be the nominee, and yet like 10 different people still tried to run for the nomination. Vivek Ramaswamy was one of them. This guy is such a character. He is so funny. I think one of the most memorable lines from him was he called Nikki Haley Dick Cheney in 6-inch heels. Yeah. It's just, this guy is so funny, man. I don't think he's going to win because a lot of Ohioans are pretty racist, and he's an Indian guy. But man, I'm glad to see him move on to the next to the general election.
Well, and it's also funny because one of the, I think, most hilarious clips that I seen, I mean, it was terrible. I hate to see this done in somebody's face, but also kind of you get what you pay for.
Yeah.
There was a clip where at the very beginning of his primary announcement, he was going around to different events in college campuses. And, Vivek Ramaswamy stands up there and he talks about like American values and all this other stuff. And like this 20-year-old white kid stands up, grabs the microphone, and he goes, "This is a Christian nation and you're not a Christian.
Yeah.
How are you going to lead us?"
Real leopards eating my face moment.
And this dude just stood there and basically in no short terms tried to like combine his, I believe he's Hindu, but don't quote me on, but I believe he's Hindu, and tried to like mesh his Hindu faith with like Christian faith. And it was the most disingenuous thing ever. And this kid is just looking at him and going, "What the fuck are you talking about?"
That's my favorite thing that Vivek does, because he'll get a bunch of people that question him about his faith. Like, it's just bigotry, right? Like, that's
absolute bigotry. Plain and simple. Absolute bigotry.
He doesn't deserve it, but like Republican Party, you sort of comes with the territory. But my favorite thing that he does is he'll get questioned about Christianity versus Hinduism and stuff, and he'll do like theological debates with these people rather than just saying like, "Oh yeah, we can exist despite our differences." Like, he gets into like the religious text, and it's like, dog, what are you doing,
dude? Like, it's bad, man. There was another one that came out just last week where he's on a ranch or something, and he's talking to a guy, and he's like, again, another theological question, and he's like, Jesus was a vessel for God, and he wasn't God. He was just like a messenger of God. And this white guy's looking at him, dude. And looking at him and going, "You're just incorrect about this." And I'm like, this is a thing. Now, I have my feelings about religion or whatever.
Of course.
But this is a thing that can devastate him in a general election.
Oh, yeah.
Because you're already not getting anybody that's a Democratic voter. So now you're going to have the Christian fundamentalists who, are they going to vote for you? I don't know. It puts it in a flux.
I find it hard to believe that he's going to win this election. I know it's been quite a long time since Ohio has elected a Democrat for governor, but like Vivek is just he's such a cornball. He's very annoying, and I think that the racist tendencies of the Republican Party will probably do him in.
Actually, and that's the thing. Like, I've not liked Ohio's legislature in terms of who they send to Washington very much. but they very rarely send a cornball.
Yo, he's a cornball.
And he's a cornball.
He's a cornball.
Yeah, yeah. And the last thing I want to say about the special elections, we got to talk about Indiana. All of the legislators that resisted Trump's redistricting efforts got primaried. So there's still a very deep hold that Trump has on the GOP, and it seems like that could be a big mistake given some of the results.
Yeah.
Now, I want to pivot a little bit to pretty close. And what I mean by that is the Met Gala. So the Met Gala went down over this weekend. We are all familiar with the Met Gala. We know what it's all about. But activist Chris Smalls, he's a labor activist, particularly around Amazon.
I think he was also on the flotilla, right?
He was on the Freedom Flotilla as well. He got arrested at the Met Gala for protesting. I almost said Steve Jobs. Jeff Bezos.
Jeff Bezos, yeah.
Jeff Bezos, who wrote a big check to the Met.
Yeah.
While his workers can't take pee breaks at Amazon factories. And
I don't think I have much to say about the Met Gala that hasn't already been said in years past. I mean, it's just it's decadence, it's exorbitant wealth on display. Everybody knows what it is when they look at it. Everybody knows like an activist getting arrested at the Met Gala. Like it's bullshit. But like, what are we gonna do about it? Is the question. And the answer so far is not much. Not much.
But let me tell you, he had Chris Smalls the night before posted a super villain video in New York, and we're just gonna play this.
Where you're gonna be surrounded by all these elites and billionaires and A-listers when you have poverty right outside on the streets. What's going on, Jeff? Remember me, the fired Amazon worker that you signed off on the smear campaign, calling me not smart or articulate, but you also said to make me the face of the whole unionizing efforts against Amazon. Amazon is heavily invested in this genocide. They invest $7.2 billion into Project Nimbus, a project that is being used to fund, empower the technology being used to surveil and target innocent Palestinians.
So this video was played on the side of a massive building in the middle of Manhattan. And when I say this was like Joker, Two-Face level Batman villain stuff, it was low-key phenomenal, the fact that they pulled that off. And, I wanted to pick your brain about this because do people just need to get more creative with how they resist?
Maybe. I do like the idea of like Times Square, all the screens light up with one face on it, just so the villain can talk directly to Batman. You know what I'm talking about? That does go hard if we start doing shit like that. But I mean, no, I'm a big fan of a diversity of tactics, right? Like do what you're good at, do what you can do to get attention. And if it involves pissing off some rich people, even better.
Yeah, and I mean, I think the thing here, and the reason why I wanted to talk about it is we're at a moment right now where we know the economy is terrible. We know gas prices are going out of control. People are really struggling. Layoffs are still happening nationwide from various companies in various industries. And it just feels like we keep getting hit with the let them eat cake moments.
Yes.
We keep getting hit with...
We've had 1 billion of those under Trump.
Exactly. Yeah. And speaking of that, by the way, the ballroom, the one that he told y'all was going to be completely free and completely privately funded. Yeah, the GOP just wrote it, tried to sneak it into some legislation over the past week. That
it's like $400 million or some bullshit.
Oh, a billy.
It was $1 billion?
A billy.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, like $1 billion of taxpayer money should go towards funding Trump's ballroom.
Half of that could have saved Spirit, by the way.
Easily. And I'm not, and by the way, I'm not for bailing out companies
no, me neither. I'm
that
just saying.
have crappy business models.
Yeah.
But we could have saved 17,000 jobs.
Yep.
You know, as opposed to a ballroom that hasn't happened yet.
Yeah.
So we just keep getting these moments, and I implore everybody to just like pay attention. Like I know you can't care about everything, but just pay attention, man, because you pay your taxes, hopefully. You pay your taxes, and your money goes towards a lot of this stuff. And it just makes sense for you to let your legislators know that this is not what you stand for. I don't want to pay for a fucking ballroom. And I don't care.
I'll also say, on the note of like protesting the Met Gala and whatnot, the people like us often have a lot of words for establishment Democrats. And like, I certainly think there's plenty of things they do wrong. But I think if we take a historical view, a lot of people forget that most of the major pieces of progress that we point to and say, like, that's responsible for good things happen because of labor militancy or social movements, right? Like the Civil Rights Act doesn't happen without the Civil Rights Movement.
No.
If there aren't millions of people in the streets demanding a change, pressuring President LBJ, that just doesn't happen. Or on like a more local level, right? We talked about in a previous episode, California got gun control after the Black Panthers used guns. Like this kind of stuff.
Didn't even use guns, just walked around with guns.
Just had them and publicly carried them.
Yeah.
So like these broad changes that people now understand to be good things only happen when broad social movements that bring people together put pressure on elected officials on both sides of the aisle. And as much as we can, complain about establishment Democrats, and I'll continue to complain about establishment Democrats, I think it's useful to remember that the only way you get them to change is by making them really uncomfortable and forcing them to change.
Yeah, and I agree with that. And I think, looking at it from the other side too, because you're starting to see even in some of these town halls across the country in deep blood red districts and blood red states where people are getting frustrated. The farmers have not been bailed out. The tariffs are still putting a lot of our agricultural system under horrendous stress. And prices are going up at the grocery store because of it. And obviously the situation overseas is putting the strain on gas prices. And so everybody is sort of kind of coming to an understanding of like, shit sucks.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Shit sucks.
And like, we should probably do something about it. And I think you're starting to see a lot more people kind of get more creative when it comes to sharing how they feel about things.
Yeah, and I think there's more opportunity than maybe any time before. Maybe it's just recency bias because, I live in this era. But it seems like there's more opportunity than in prior eras to bring people together around a basic set of, or a very basic policy program of like Medicare for all, actually ending the wars overseas because Trump ran on it, but obviously didn't mean it. Look at what we're doing right now. And a number of these other populist issues that like the majority of the population support, but neither of the two parties are willing to commit to. Obviously, Republicans don't want to do anything good because they're evil. But a lot of Democrats also are, in bed with the same donors that would stand to lose money if we did a thing like Medicare for all. But a lot of people support it. And I think there's a wide open lane for people that are willing to really invest their time and energy into a program like that.
Yeah, and you know what? You brought up donors, so we definitely got to plug this, is that the clock is running out for Michigan Money Out of Politics. It's a big thing that a petition that's going around that a lot of people have already signed, but then they had to restart and sign it again.
Yes.
And I just want to say this, I am a firm believer, and this is me personally. Norris sharing his personal opinion. I personally believe that it is really important that every person's vote counts the same as every other person's.
So true. That's democracy.
That's democracy, right? That every person's political voice has the same value as every other person's political voice. And listen, we can disagree. I disagree with a lot of people.
Yeah.
But ultimately, we have been existing in a system in which you can buy your way to legislation or buy your way to office or buy your way to certain things happening. And this is a bipartisan thing.
Yeah.
Strangely enough, it is a thing that is supported by both sides of the aisle. And so if you haven't, Michigan Money Out of Politics is maybe a thing you should check out.
Yeah, and that's the theory behind it, right? Like one person, one vote. It's the basic premise of democracy. If we don't have that, we don't have a democracy. But I'll even put it in more plain terms. If you despise DTE, go and sign this ballot petition. DTE runs roughshod over Lansing. If you don't want DTE to have so much power over your elected representatives, go sign the ballot petition, Michiganders for Money Out of Politics.
And here's the thing about this, right? DTE just last week asked for another $100 million rate hike, bro.
I'm sick of it.
Like they just got one cleared this month, and they went back to Lansing to ask for even more money.
Yeah, they're fucking thieves, dude. They're thieves.
Listen, how many DTE trucks you seen in your neighborhood hardening the grid?
I think I like two, maybe.
Two. Right? Like I live in an area where most of our power is actually underground. And so like our area is very insulated. Weather does not affect very much of what I'm doing. But also at the same time, people a block away lose their power as soon as a stiff breeze comes around. Like, everybody.
It doesn't have to be this way.
It doesn't have to be this way.
No.
We can do better. Michigan has proven time and time again that if it wants to, it can stand up for the greater good of the people, i.e., you can't gerrymander in Michigan anymore. We saw what happened with everything
One
in
of the
Louisiana.
few states to do that,
Yeah, with everything in Louisiana and people being gerrymandered out of districts. And you can't do that in Michigan because people read the thing. I was shocked. I actually didn't think that would pass when it came up.
It's one of those things that's like, this is too complicated. The average voter's not going to get it passed. And it's just it's an uncontroversial, it's again one of those very basic things you need for democracy to function. You can't have the people who hold the positions drawing the lines for the positions. In the same way, you cannot have these massive organized interests spending tons and tons of money to corrupt your legislators, otherwise they won't represent you. And that's the thing that we can do. You got to sign the ballot petition. Yeah,
for sure. So Michigan money out of politics. Now, Jeremy, before we close, I got to ask you, how are you staying sane in all of this?
I have been going very hard playing Hades 1.
Hades is amazing.
Hades goes really hard. I keep getting my ass kicked by the titular character Hades, the final boss of the game. But that's what I've been doing to keep my mind off of war, gas prices, and all that other stuff. Very fun game.
Yes, Greek mythology.
Yeah, no, it's great.
It's fantastic. For me, it has been sports.
Yeah. Oh, Pistons up a million.
Pistons came back Game 6, thrashed Orlando Game 7, and then just beat Cleveland in Game 1 of the Eastern Conference semifinals. Producer Gage and I have been waxing poetically every day in the office about the Pistons. And it's been great, but we do want to give a special shout out to Julie, who will be back next week on the show. Do not fret, she'll be back. She was away for a while overseas doing all sorts of cool stuff that we can't do. So
Yep. She wasn't in the torment nexus with us.
Exactly. But Spirit shut down and threw the entire aviation world into flux. And so we share our empathy with all the people who worked at Spirit who lost their gigs because I guess raising fuel costs by double-digit % is not smart.
It's so crazy how Spirit's just like, don't come to the airport tomorrow.
Could you imagine?
Out of nowhere.
I saw a video where literally there was a flight attendant who was trying to make the normal announcement of like, we're making our final approach, everybody sit down, and like was in tears because he was just like, so we have just been informed that like Spirit Airlines is no longer.
Damn, they were on the last chopper out of Vietnam.
Yeah, legit. Like it's like, could you imagine being 10,000 feet in the air, knowing when you land, you don't have a job,
and you're probably not at home either.
Exactly.
You're probably not at your home base.
You got to find your own way home. Yep. It's terrible, man.
Got to drop $400 on a Delta ticket just to get home.
Bro,
fuck that. That's Trump's economy.
And you've been used to flying free.
Yeah.
Like for years.
Yeah, I hope people are ready for like JetBlue and Frontier to close down next if this shit keeps going on.
It's really scary. It's spooky stuff because listen, Spirit was in trouble for a long time.
Oh yeah.
They were in trouble.
JetBlue's not doing well either right now.
Yeah. Well, it's because I guess when everybody's laid off, they don't want to go to Miami anymore. Like.
Yeah. Well, and like the aviation industry should not be privatized. Like the government it should just be government played. But that's a different conversation.
Hey, listen, a whole nother different conversation for a whole nother different time. But we appreciate you all taking your time to hang out with us. As I said, I assure you that the usual suspects will be back on the show next week. Jeremy, thank you for your time today.
Of course. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, and don't forget to follow us at Point of Disorder on all of your social media platforms. Don't forget to like, subscribe. We also have a Patreon where you can check out. You can get access to G&T Time, which is even more unhinged than this show, apparently. And you can also follow us on YouTube where you can get clips and replays of this very show if you want to check it out visually. Jeremy, once again, where can they find Head in the Office?
Head in the Office on all platforms, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. It's all over there.
That's right. And we will catch all of you next week. Stay safe out there.
Bye.
And that's a wrap on today's episode of Point of Disorder. We'd like to extend a huge thank you to everyone who listened today. And if you like us, give us a like, a subscribe, or a review on any place you get your podcasts. And don't forget to follow us on social media at Distill Social and at The Guerrilla Politic. This is the Point of Disorder podcast, signing off. Stay sharp, stay progressive, and above all, stay tuned.